You mentioned before that the plan was 8 years of Obama, 8 years of Hillary,
Yeah.
and Timcast live from Daily Wire would not exist. Is there, if they're not through with Trump, and this is just, what do you say, it's D-Day +1,
Right.
is there going to be an effort, and is it even possible to do away with the massive independent media operation that exists today? I mean, how do you get rid of a Daily Wire? How do you get rid of a Timcast or a Steven Crowder?
You know what? Have you ever heard of and you've seen them, a national emergency broadcast
Yeah.
where like all of a sudden like everything stops and the United States government comes in and goes, we as an alert.
Yeah.
Okay. So the U.S. government has extraordinary capabilities, and
I hear you.
What about the internet freedom issue? The internet freedom.
It's interesting because I went up to the western mountains of North Carolina about 2 weeks ago. Spent a couple of days up there, helping out and just doing an assessment of the situation. And it's the first time in like 45 years for me being on a ham radio. Okay, so and I have a background. One of my master's degrees is in telecommunications, and in the world of the terrestrial world of communications is fascinating if you really deeply understand it. So ham radio operators, that's why ham radio operators, there's not a lot of them. You're not going to find them all over the place, but they exist. And yet it's one area. So if the government comes in and says, we're going to shut down communications in this country, which they could do, like the FCC, Federal Communications Commission, it is to me, it's one of the most powerful positions in the government. It's a person that's generally chosen for about 10 years. It's very powerful because they own the internet. So we are communicating over a segment of the internet. That segment isn't owned by you. It's actually, and you kind of go, well, who owns it then? Well, it's supposed to be, actually, we own it, right? The American people own it because we kind of run it because of all these satellites and all these different things, like telephones that you probably might have had when you were a little kid, the old two-pair copper wire, because we ran copper all over this country. So the U.S. government has done some smart things for purposes of national security to be able to control communications when they need to get out things like a warning, like we've got incoming, nuclear attack. So, I grew up in the days of schools where we had to duck underneath our desks, okay? So the government can do that if they want to. And you know what? I'm not going to put that past this crowd that's currently in there. I'm not. I will not. I will not sit here and go, oh, they never do it. They never do it. Just like they'd never take 2 shots at Donald Trump. Okay, not 1, 2. And they, and the potential for them to do it again is very real. You're going to say something?
No, you mentioned the 2 shots. I was actually thinking earlier. I was wondering what your sense about how much, if the 2 individuals that tried to assassinate Trump, if they were lone wolves or if they were
there's no. You know what? When they talk about lone wolves, I'm not a believer in lone wolves. And the second guy for sure was on the FBI's radar. In fact, I think he worked for the FBI. And the fact that he was over in Ukraine
was the Azov battalion
recruiting Afghans. I guarantee that the CIA had him on their radar. Okay, because there's no way in the world that a U.S. citizen like him, that kind of a profile and what he was doing, is going to be wandering around out there on a battlefield without the CIA knowing that he was out there doing it. And maybe I want to know. That's what I want to know. So nobody has said anything. I've been very pretty public about this. The other thing is there's some other potential evidence of other people that were working with this guy that are now in Congress. Okay, and we'll see what happens with that here. But so I'm not a big believer in these lone wolves. Do they exist? Yeah, they probably do. But it's like in the military, I've dealt with suicides as an example. Okay, and the one thing, somebody goes and hangs himself in a barracks or they shoot themselves at home, and everybody goes, "Oh my God, this is so sad," and it is. It's a tragedy for the families, for whoever's left behind, right? But the one thing that I've learned in all of the investigations that I've been involved in with suicides, and it's like a lone wolf, once you start to dig in and you start to look at the profile and the activities and the behavior, the relationships of that person that committed suicide. I guarantee, and it's been 100%, and I've dealt with many, over my career, either investigating another unit or my own unit, where somebody else always knew. The person said, "I'm going to kill myself," and they didn't say anything. So when we say, "Oh, the lone wolf," we've seen examples of, where the mother knew the kid had 3 guns, or the mother bought the guns, and she's, and she let him have them. So there's not this idea.
So you're
of
saying
lone
Lee
wolf.
Harvey Oswald didn't act alone?
No,
But it's
wait
also
till that comes out.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Culture War podcast. We're live every Friday, 10 a.m. to noon, so subscribe and come hang out.